You're watching In the Office. My name is Bray. Let's do some quote learning. Today for episode number 33, I want to cover this idea about the questions that you and I aren't allowed to ask. It's my contingency that there is a time, a tone, and a place to ask just about every question. Now, why is it that many times you and I feel the pressure not to ask certain questions? Well, there is a reason, and each reason may be a little bit different, but we need to figure out what that reason is. And if we're not willing to do the labor to figure out what that reason is, then just go ahead and ask the question. But if you do want to be careful with a situation, you want to discern it well, then try to take a little bit of time to figure out exactly why it is that somebody would have that pressure against you not to ask certain questions. I know one time when I worked at the bus company, there was, an issue with staffing. And I wanted to ask the question, do you think it's an issue with staffing or do you think it's an issue with supervision? And the question was, basically we had a boss that was not good at his job. And most everybody kind of knew that, but nobody really wanted to say that. Well, me being a young guy who felt that I didn't have much to lose, I finally just said it to one of the other bosses, like, this guy is really hard to deal with. I asked for a day off and I have plenty of vacation, and I felt like I had to climb Mount Everest to make that come to fruition. I mean, do we have to keep working with this guy or do y'all want to do something about it? Because that's why everybody keeps dropping off of this line and swapping and going to other parts of the plant. It's this guy. The work's not that hard, but that guy right there. Didn't feel like we could ask that question because that guy had been there for 30 years and he had been through the changes in management and he had been through all the other ups and downs and he had come from another bus plant before that. I believe that's how that tied into 30 years. But nobody wanted to mess with him because he was a curmudgeon. That being said, I think many of the times the reasons that your every person doesn't want to ask certain questions of their leadership, especially Christian leadership or organizational leadership, is because maybe sometimes you feel like you're outgunned. Maybe you feel like the person that you're going to have an interaction with, they have the ability to punish you for the questions that you're going to ask, or maybe they have the ability to articulate things very well and then they're going to verbally embarrass you. Maybe those are some of the reasons that you do not ask the questions. But I'm of the contention that truth is a very high value commodity, and asking the question anyway is worth doing. When I calculate the trustworthiness of many of the people that we use through the church and I use in other places in my life as leaders, I ask a series of questions. I mean, more questions than I can just verbalize at this time, though I'm working on trying to get all those out at some point. But one of the things that always is a red flag for me is when somebody works desperately to appear nonpartisan. Well, they say of their defense, well, I'm a moderate and I'm a balanced and I'm a thoughtful person. Maybe you are, and I don't even want to say that you're not. But maybe it's also possible that you lack conviction. Maybe it's possible that there's something that you ought to stand for more boldly that you don't. Another question that I ask regularly is, does this person feel the need to apologize for the Bible? If I can sense that somebody's apologizing for the Bible, then I really bring you down several notches in my book. And who am I? I'm just some guy. So don't fret it, if it's you that I'm bringing down a notch, because I hope that you brought me down a notch or two in your life, because I'm probably not everything that you think that I am. But when we're looking for people to trust and to follow, asking questions that feel like they're not allowed, it does cause such a tension inside of us. That free-flowing information is so important to get along with other people, to prosper and to P&D, to product and develop, to grow and to aspire to new heights. That is necessary. Free-flowing communications is a must. Think of the Tower of Babel. These are people that are going to build the greatest tower in the history of mankind at that time. God recognized it and said, I'm going to scatter them and their languages. And he needed to, and he did. And had he not, the tower would have been incredible. Now today, with the liberties that we're given and the developments that we're making, it's important for us to have that free-flowing information so we can get together and build new things and go to new heights and go to new places. That's necessary. And if that communication is limited to only taking instructions and never asking any questions and never being able to work together as a team, then it's going to be very, very frustrating. What are the questions in your life that you feel like you're not able to ask? And what sphere are you dealing with? I come from the perspective of the sphere that I deal with, and that's protecting and trying to maintain the orthodoxy of a Christian church, and then also the soundness of a medical facility and the volunteers therein. What do you need to protect? Are you dealing in the sphere of your children in school? Are you dealing in the sphere of your work or in your home? Where are you at, and what are the questions that you feel like you're not able to ask? Because I'm telling you, most likely there is a time, a tone, and a place for that question to be asked. But make sure that you're being very conscientious about those three. Make sure that you have the right time to ask the question. Make sure that you have a good tone, and make sure you have a good place. Many people that have to answer these questions, they, like you, do not like to be embarrassed. So making sure that you picked a time that makes sense for them, a tone that is not off-putting, and a location that's safe. All of those baked into the cake might allow you to get some answers. And whether or not you get the answers, I think it is important for us all to establish a pattern of questioning. Now, your pattern of questioning ought to be filled beyond that with a pattern of doing what you were asked, if it's within the bounds of being asked. Asking questions just to slow things down and just to not have to do anything, and it's obvious that it's a lazy move, not good. But asking questions of people that they feel like that you need an answer to, as long as you're going to be okay with the answer and you're going to make an actual decision based on that, whether to obey them or to move on and seek other employment or to end that mutual friendship or to do whatever it is that was required to maintain that relationship. Be willing to act on the information that you get, because if you just become one of these people that just sit around and ask a bunch of questions but never produce, achieve, add anything, people are going to look at you like the stump that you are if all you can add are questions to the equation. I like to answer the questions of people who are doing things, who are getting things done. So if you'll be that person, I believe you'll be able to ask these questions, whether you get a satisfactory answer or not, and then that will help you to be better at whatever it is that you're doing. I hope this helps. Ask a question this week. Maybe write down some that you don't feel like you have answers for, and then pray about seeking out a time, a tone, and a place to ask those questions, and then maybe those answers will be satisfactory and you can do something with them. Those are my thoughts. We'll see you next time.